The last stand begins. The sky above the colony world of Kairos was burning. Great firestorms spread across the night, and whole cities trembled under the endless rain of enemy weapons. The people of Kairos had prayed for peace, but peace had not come. Now they prayed for survival, and even that seemed like a dream slipping away. The enemy was the Dravari Empire, a ruthless force that showed no mercy. Their fleet was vast, their weapons advanced, and their cruelty unmatched. They had crushed a dozen other worlds before this one, and they would crush Kairos too. To the Dravari, this was not war, it was a hunt. They saw the people of Kairos as weak prey, useful only as slaves or as ash beneath their feet. Inside the central command hall, the alien council of Kairos gathered. They were tired, faces pale with fear. Screens lit the room, showing enemy ships surrounding their world like a cage of steel. Each hour, more defense platforms were destroyed. Each hour, more civilians screamed as cities fell. "No one is coming," one council member said, voice shaking. "No one dares to face the Dravari. We are alone." His words spread across the chamber like poison. Silence followed, broken only by the distant thunder of bombardment. Commander Yalrin, leader of the last defense fleet, stood tall despite his exhaustion. His armor was scratched and his eyes were hollow from sleepless nights. But his voice still carried strength. "We will not surrender," Yalrin declared. "If the galaxy has abandoned us, then we fight alone. Let the Dravari choke on our blood before they take this world." His courage inspired some, but fear was stronger. The council members whispered among themselves. They remembered how years ago they had called for help from other great powers. The trade union, the Varan Combine, the syndicate lords. None had answered. Why would they answer now? A young counselor finally spoke. "We sent the distress signal," she said softly. "We broadcast it to every system within 1,000 light years, but no one has replied. Perhaps the Dravari are right. Perhaps no one dares stand against them." Her words struck the chamber like a knife. Despair grew heavier. Far above the planet, the defense fleet struggled. Kairos had only 50 ships left, and most were old and slow. Against them, the Dravari brought hundreds. The battle was hopeless, but still the defenders fought. They fought because behind them were billions of innocent lives. They fought because surrender meant slavery and chains. In the refugee camps on the surface, mothers held their children close as the ground shook. Families huddled together, listening to the endless roar of war in the sky. They had heard the council's promises before that someone would come, that help was on the way. But as days turned into weeks, faith faded. One boy, no older than 12, looked up at the burning sky and asked his father, "Why won't anyone help us? Doesn't anyone care?" The father had no answer. He only hugged his son tighter. Back, in orbit, Commander Yalrin's flagship shuddered as enemy fire struck its shields. Sparks flew across the bridge. Officers shouted, struggling to keep systems online. "We cannot hold much longer," one officer cried. "Then we hold until our last breath," Yalrin answered. He stared at the tactical screen where red enemy markers filled the void. His mind whispered the truth he refused to speak aloud. They were doomed. And yet, even in that despair, a tiny spark of hope lived. For the distress signal still traveled outward, racing through the void of space. A message carried on invisible, waves calling out into the endless dark. It was a simple message. 3 words repeated again and again. "We need help." The Dravari laughed when they intercepted it. To them it was pathetic. Who would come? Who would dare? The other powers of the galaxy were cowards, too afraid to face the Empire. The signal would vanish into silence, as it always had. But deep within the command hall of Kairos, the young counselor whispered, "What if someone does answer? What if there is still a chance?" The older council members shook their heads. They had seen too much betrayal to believe. "Do not cling to myths," they told her. "No one will come." The bombardment outside grew louder. Explosions shook the city. More defense ships burned in the sky. Commander Yalrin tightened his fists. His people were brave, But bravery could not stop a tidal wave. He knew the truth. Without a miracle, Keros would fall. And yet, far beyond the stars, the signal traveled. Past empty systems, past dead worlds, past the borders of empires that had already turned their backs. Somewhere, far away, a receiver caught it. A forgotten machine, silent for centuries, blinked to life. Old sensors read the simple cry, "We need help." And in that moment, something stirred. The galaxy believed no one would come. The galaxy believed Keros was already lost, but they had forgotten one truth. A truth buried in silence for centuries. Humanity still lived, and humanity did not ignore cries for help. Silence across the stars. The message from Keros flew across the stars, endless and tireless. It carried no riches, no promises, no great speeches. It was only 3 words repeated again and again. "We need help." The words crossed trade routes and borders. They touched the edges of great empires, brushed the stations of smugglers, and echoed in the dark between suns. But one by one, those who heard it turned away. In the shining towers of the trade union, the signal was received and logged. The officials sat around their crystal tables, counting profits and weighing risks. "Interference with the Dravari Empire will cost us our fleets," one minister said. "Our merchants depend on their routes," another added. And so the decision was made. Ignore it. Better to keep their coins than risk their lives. Far away in the halls of the Veyron Combine, generals studied the message. Their fleets were powerful, their soldiers strong. But the Combine was cautious. "The Dravari are too strong," said one warlord. "Why should we waste blood for a world that is not ours?" "Let Keros burn," another agreed. "We must save our strength for our own borders." And so the signal was dismissed, cast aside like dust. In the Syndicate's dark stations, smugglers and pirates laughed when they heard it. "Help?" they sneered. "No one helps for free." They shut. Their channels returned to their business and left Keros to its fate. Days passed. The world of Keros still fought, still bled, still hoped. But no reply came. The signal repeated endlessly, bouncing through the void, its plea unanswered. On Keros, despair grew. Refugees filled camps across the planet. Families whispered in the dark that perhaps the Council had lied, that perhaps no one was listening. Children cried at night, asking questions no parent could answer. Commander Yalren stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, staring at the stars. He knew the truth. In his heart, the galaxy was watching, but the galaxy was silent. And in that silence, the Dravari grew bolder. Their commander, Lord Zareth, sat on the throne of his flagship, a cruel smile twisting his face. He had read the intercepted messages. He had seen how no one dared to answer. "Pathetic," Zareth said. "They beg for help, and no one answers. The galaxy fears us. Their cries are nothing but music to me." His officers laughed, cruel and sharp, as another volley of fire struck Keros's surface. The Empire believed their victory was certain. To them, the silence of the stars was proof of their power, but not everyone dismissed the signal so easily. In a small research outpost on the edge of forgotten space, an old alien scholar listened to ancient frequencies. His equipment was outdated, his funding gone, his colleagues long dead or retired. Yet he listened, as he always had, for voices in the dark. When the distress call reached him, he froze. The pattern of the signal was strange, almost familiar. He replayed it again and again, his eyes wide. "This is not just any signal," he whispered. "This carries a rhythm, a signature, something old." He compared it to his archives, records, from centuries past, myths and fragments many had forgotten. His claws trembled as he confirmed what his heart already knew. This is human code. The word felt heavy in the air, like the echo of a legend, for humanity had vanished long ago. Some said they had destroyed themselves. Some said they had retreated into the dark, never to return. And some said they had become only a myth, a story to frighten children. The scholar shook his head. "No, They were real. And if this code is alive, then humanity still listens. Somewhere, somehow, humanity endures. He rushed to send his findings to the Council of Kairos. But when his report reached them, the reaction was not joy, it was laughter. Humans, the Council scoffed. Old myths, ghost stories, they do not exist. You waste our time, another said. No one is coming. Least of all creatures that vanished before our grandparents were born. The young counselor, the same one who had defended hope before, did not laugh. She leaned forward, eyes shining. But what if it is true? What if someone heard us? What if the humans are still out there? Her voice was drowned in the noise of older, bitter leaders. They had seen too much betrayal, too much fear, too much silence. No one will come, the council said. Not the Union, not the Combine, not the Syndicate, and not these ghosts you speak of. And yet far away in the cold of space, the signal kept moving. It passed another dead star, another silent moon. Somewhere, in the endless dark, machines stirred. Old systems long forgotten blinked to life. The signal was caught, decoded, read, and a voice, deep and cold, answered. For the first time in centuries, humanity spoke back. The forgotten name, the Council of Kairos, argued in circles. Outside, their cities burned. Inside, their hope crumbled. The older leaders spoke with cold certainty. Humans are gone. We cannot waste time with fantasies. But the young counselor, Lyra, did not agree. She leaned forward, her hands trembling yet her eyes filled with fire. The signal was human code, she said. I have studied it myself. It carries a rhythm, a pulse, like a war drum. It cannot be a mistake. Her words stirred a few, but most shook their heads. To them, humanity was nothing but a forgotten tale. Hundreds of years ago, the humans had fought across the stars. They were fierce, stubborn, and strange. Some remembered them as allies, others as enemies. But then, they vanished. Their worlds went dark. Their fleets disappeared. Their names slipped into myth. Even the children of Kairos only knew the word human from old songs told around fires, a story of a people who stood when all others fled, a story too old, too unlikely, too convenient. Now in the middle of war, to believe such a legend felt like madness. Commander Yalrin, who had listened silently until now, finally spoke. His voice was tired, but his eyes carried respect for Lyra's. Courage? If there is even a chance she is right, Yalrin said. We cannot ignore it. If humanity still lives, then perhaps they are the only ones who would dare face the Dravari. The council chamber grew quiet. No one wanted to admit it. But deep inside, they knew the truth. The great powers had already turned away. No one else would come. The young counselor whispered, What if humans have not forgotten us? What if they still hear cries for help? Outside, the war raged on. The defense fleet shrank each day. The Dravari's grip tightened. Soon, all resistance would end. And still, the signal pulsed outward. We need help. We need help. Far across, the void, deep in hidden corners of space, something began to stir. In an abandoned listening post on the rim of the galaxy, machines older than memory hummed back to life. Screens lit up with strange symbols. A voice steady and firm repeated in human tongue. Distress signal received. The technicians in the post stared in shock. They were not from Earth, not even human. They were simple workers hired long ago by someone no one remembered. Yet the machines they guarded still worked, silent guardians of a long-forgotten people. One technician whispered, This is human language. I have seen fragments in the archives, but how? Humans are dead, are they not? No one answered. The machines continued, sending new signals outward, awakening deeper networks hidden in the stars. Meanwhile, the Dravari commander Lord Zareth feasted in his grand hall aboard his flagship. He drank spiced wine, celebrating victories that were not yet complete. The galaxy trembles. Zareth said, his voice echoing in arrogance. Keros is nearly ours. Their signal has reached no one. Their cries are dust in the wind. An officer stepped forward nervously. Lord, there are rumors. Some say the signal carries human code. The hall fell silent for a moment. Zareth stared at the officer before laughing loudly. Humans? Myths for children. They vanished centuries ago. Do you tremble at ghosts? The officers forced laughter, but unease spread like poison. Because even the Dravari in their arrogance remembered the old wars. They remembered how humans fought like no other race, how they never surrendered, how they turned battles with impossible courage. But that was long ago. Surely those warriors were gone forever. Surely. Back on Keros, Lyra stood on the balcony of the command hall staring at the night sky. Fires painted the horizon and enemy ships prowled like predators above. She clenched her fists. If only the stories were true, she whispered. If only humans still lived. She remembered one of the old tales her grandmother told her when she was a child. A story of how humans never turned away from a call for help. Of how their fleets moved like storms, and their soldiers stood like mountains. A story of how they promised, when the galaxy abandons you, we will not. Lyra closed her eyes, whispering to the sky, please, if you still live, hear us. And far away her words did not vanish. For in the deep dark of space the signal had reached them. Humanity, silent for centuries, was no longer silent. In hidden arsenals, lights flickered on. Engines that had slept for generations roared awake. Commanders who had trained in shadows spoke the old words once more. The name forgotten by the galaxy was now whispered again. Earth. And with that name came a promise. A promise that shook even the stars. Humanity had heard the call, and they would answer. The first shadow appears. The skies above Keros were black with enemy ships. The Dravari Empire circled the planet like vultures, patient and cruel. Commander Yalrin's fleet was broken, reduced to a handful of battered ships. Every hour, another vessel burned in silence. Every hour more ground was lost. Inside the command hall, the council argued again. Some wanted surrender. Some wanted to keep fighting until the last breath. Lyra, the young counselor, stood apart. Her eyes stayed fixed on the comm screen, still broadcasting their desperate signal. Why do you keep it running? An elder asked bitterly. No one listens. No one cares. Lyra did not answer. In her heart, she could not let go of the tiny hope that somewhere, somehow, someone had heard them. Far away in the deep night of space, something stirred. A ship moved quietly between the stars. It was small, dark, and deadly. Its surface reflected no light. Its engines made no trace. The Dravari patrols never saw it coming. It was human. The vessel was called Spectre 9, one of Earth's stealth scouts. For centuries, Earth had hidden, watching the galaxy from the shadows. But when the cry for help reached them, silence ended. Now, the first shadow of Earth had arrived. Inside the Dravari flagship, alarms screamed. One of our patrols has been destroyed, an officer reported. No wreckage recovered, just gone. Lord Zareth frowned. Pirates? No, my lord. Pirates do not move like this. The ship was erased in seconds. Another alarm. Another patrol vanished. Then another. No enemy could be seen. No weapons detected. Only the sudden death of ships that seconds before had been whole. Fear spread through the Empire fleet like a virus. What hunts us? Captains whispered to one another. What stalks in the dark? Commander Yalrin, aboard his broken flagship, also noticed something strange. His sensors recorded sudden explosions among the Dravari lines. At first he thought it was a trick, but then more followed. Ships destroyed in silence, without warning. Like prey caught by an invisible predator. On the surface of Keros, refugees looked up. For the first time in weeks, they saw fire not falling onto them, but bursting among the enemy ships. Whispers spread quickly. Is someone fighting for us? Has help come? Lyra's heart pounded as she watched the screens. It's them, she whispered. It has to be. In the Dravari war hall, panic began to show. My lord, we cannot track it, an officer cried. Our sensors see nothing. Our weapons hit only empty space. Zareth slammed his fist on the armrest of his throne. Find it. Nothing is invisible. Nothing dares strike the Empire. But deep down, even he felt a chill. Because he remembered the old stories too. Stories of ships that moved unseen. Stories of enemies who never fought fair. Stories of humans. And now his ships were dying just as the legends described. In the cold of space, Spectre 9 drifted like a phantom. Its pilot, a human officer named Captain Arik Hale, watched the chaos unfold. His hands were steady, his voice calm. Targets eliminated, signal confirmed. Kairos is still fighting, he reported to his hidden network. A deep voice replied through comms, firm and commanding. Good. The vanguard is only beginning. Hold position. The Armada follows. Arik smiled faintly. For centuries, humanity had waited in silence. Now at last they were stepping into the light. Back on Kairos, Commander Yalrin could not believe his eyes. He watched enemy ships vanish one by one, falling not to his weak fleet but to something unseen. He turned to his officers. This is not our doing, Yalrin said. Someone else is here. Lyra's voice cut through the comms, steady but trembling with hope. Commander, what if it's them? What if the humans truly live? Yalrin hesitated, then looked back at the stars where fire still blossomed among the enemy lines. He whispered a single word, a name that had not been spoken in centuries. Humans. The Dravari fleet shuddered under fear it had never known. They ruled the galaxy through terror, but now terror touched them. An enemy unseen, striking without mercy. Lord Zareth roared across his command hall. Find them. Hunt them down. I will not be mocked by ghosts. But no matter how hard they searched, they found nothing. Because humanity had mastered the shadows long ago. And this was only the beginning. High above Kairos, a single ship had reminded the galaxy of a forgotten truth. Earth was no myth. Earth was no ghost. Humanity was real. And they had returned. The sky turns black for days. The skies above Kairos burned. The Dravari Empire tightened their grip, certain victory was near. Yet in the shadows, something had changed. A single unseen ship had cut holes in their mighty fleet. Patrols vanished. Escorts exploded and rumors spread like fire. Whispers filled the Empire ranks. Ghosts hunt us. Shadows kill us. This is not war, it is a curse. But the people of Kairos whispered something else. For the first time in weeks, hope stirred. In refugee camps, mothers told children, someone fights for us. Someone is out there. In the command hall. Lyra stood before the council with steady eyes. You called humans myths, she said. But look to the sky. Something has come. And the Dravari are afraid. The elders had no reply. Even they could not ignore the strange truth. The Empire was being hunted. Commander Yalrin aboard his battered flagship studied the tactical screens. He saw the pattern. The attacks were not random, they were controlled, precise, like the work of soldiers who knew war better than anyone. He whispered, almost to himself, this is human work. Far above, in the dark of space, Captain Arik, Hale of Spectre 9, listened to his orders. The deep voice of his admiral filled his comms. You have done well, Captain. The target is marked. Hold position. The Armada is arriving. Arik's heart beat faster. For years humanity had waited, hidden in silence. Now they no longer hid. Now they would reveal themselves. The people of Kairos did not know what was coming. Neither did the Dravari. But soon, both would see. It began as a tremor on the sensors, faint energy readings growing stronger each second. The Dravari officers shouted in confusion. Multiple signatures incoming, too many to count. Lord Zareth leaned forward in his throne, eyes narrowing. Reinforcements? Which fools dare interfere? Then the sky changed. One by one, massive shapes tore out of hyperspace. They were ships larger than anything Kairos had ever seen. Their hulls shone with steel and fire. Their engines glowed like suns. They came not in tens, not in hundreds, but in thousands. The heavens above Kairos filled with them, stretching from horizon to horizon. The people of Kairos looked up and gasped. The sky itself seemed to turn black, not from enemy ships but from the sheer number of newcomers. Children pointed with wide eyes. Refugees wept openly. Soldiers dropped their weapons in shock, and across the comms, a single voice spoke, calm, but powerful in words the galaxy had not heard for centuries. This is the Earth Armada. You are not alone. The council chamber froze. Every elder stared at one another in disbelief. Lyra's hands flew to her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears. Humans, she whispered. They came. On the Dravari flagship, silence held for one long second. Then chaos erupted. Officers shouted, sensors screamed, fear clawed at every throat. There are too many, one cried. Our scanners cannot count them all, shouted another. Lord. Zareth stood slowly, his face pale with rage. Impossible. Humans are extinct. They cannot be here. They cannot. But they were. The Armada moved into formation with the discipline of steel. Each warship bristled with weapons no Dravari had ever seen. Their banners bore a simple mark, the blue and green emblem of Earth. Commander Yalrin stared at his screens, barely able to breathe. By the stars, he whispered. They are real. On the surface, the people of Kairos screamed with joy. Some fell to their knees, crying thanks to the sky. For when the galaxy abandoned them, when all hope had died, Earth had answered. The Dravari fleet, once so confident, now trembled. Their prey was no longer weak. A predator greater than themselves had arrived. Captain Arik Hale guided Spectre 9 into the Armada's formation. His voice carried calm certainty. Target locked, enemy fleet exposed, ready for engagement. So, Human Admiral's voice echoed across the network, a voice that seemed to shake the stars themselves. People of Kairos, this is Earth. Your call was heard. Your fight is ours now. In that moment, hope became fire, despair became defiance, and the galaxy remembered a name it had tried to bury. Earth had returned, and the sky above Kairos turned black with their power. Earth's wrath. Unleashed, the battlefield was burning. Dozens of alien warships broke apart in silence, their flames stretching like red scars across the black sky. Yet the enemy still came. The invaders had more ships, more weapons, more arrogance. But now Earth's Armada stood ready. At the heart of the fleet, the Titan-class battleship Valor's Edge shone like a small sun. Its hull was black steel, covered in glowing blue lines of energy. Its cannons turned slowly like predators searching for prey. Behind it, more ships, destroyers, carriers, escorts, formed a perfect wall of war. The alien commander sneered. Humans cannot win. They are young, they are weak. They do not belong among the stars. But then the first barrage came. From Valor's Edge, beams of white light shot forward. They cut through 3 enemy cruisers as if they were made of paper. Carriers launched swarms of drones, small, fast, merciless. The drones flew into weak points, planting charges that ripped ships apart from the inside. The galaxy had never seen weapons like these. The defenders of Kairos watched in shock. Only minutes ago they were preparing to die. Now they saw the impossible, the invincible enemy breaking under human firepower. A cheer rose across the city ruins. Civilians wept openly, their hands lifted to the sky where the humans fought. Inside the flagship, Admiral Hayes stood tall. His voice was cold, steady. Armada, push forward, show them Earth's wrath. And the humans did. One destroyer rammed an enemy cruiser head-on, tearing it apart before firing all its torpedoes at the surrounding fleet. Another human battleship fired a weapon no alien had ever seen before, a railgun so powerful its shot pierced through 4 warships in one line, leaving glowing holes in their hulls. Panic spread among the invaders. Their formations broke. Captains screamed over comms. They had never expected resistance like this, and they had never believed in Earth. But belief did not matter now. Fear replaced it. On the ground, General Rin of Keros whispered in disbelief. They came. The humans truly came. His soldiers looked at him, their eyes wide. For the first time in years, they felt hope. Above, Admiral Hayes gave one final command. Drive them back. Leave no invader standing. Let the galaxy remember what happens when you attack the innocent. The Armada answered with thunder. Within hours, the sky was clear. Wreckage of alien ships floated like broken bones across the void. Fires burned in silence, drifting forever among the stars. Earth had won. But Hayes knew this was not the end. He looked at the destroyed enemy fleet, and then at the silent comms of the wider galaxy. They had all ignored the cry for help. They had all abandoned Keros. Earth had not. And in that moment, the galaxy realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Humanity had arrived. Humanity would not run. Humanity would fight. And when they fought, the stars themselves shook. The dawn of a new power silence fell after the battle. In orbit above Keros, the wreckage of alien warships drifted slowly, glowing in the light of the nearby star. The planet below, scarred, smoking, broken, stood alive. Its people had survived. And the reason was simple. Earth's Armada had come. On the ground, the survivors walked out from the ruins. Families held each other. Soldiers, once ready to die, now stood in awe as they watched the human fleet shine above them. For the first time in centuries, hope felt real. General Rin raised his head to the sky. His voice trembled. They came when no one else did. They fought for strangers. Tell me, who in the galaxy has ever done this before? No one answered. Because the truth was clear. Only humans had done it. In the command chamber of Valor's Edge, Admiral Hayes received the victory reports. His officers smiled, but his face remained hard. He knew this battle was only the beginning. Admiral, one officer said, the people of Keros are calling us saviors. They want to thank us. Hayes shook his head. We are not saviors. We are a warning. The officer frowned. A warning to who? Hayes looked at the star map before him. The countless systems, the arrogant empires, the silent powers who had ignored the cries of Keros. His eyes were cold. To everyone who thought Earth was weak, to everyone who thought humanity had no place among the stars. Far away across the galaxy, leaders watched the recordings of the battle. They saw how human weapons cut through fleets like fire through dry wood. They saw how Earth's Armada stood united, disciplined, fearless. Fear spread faster than light. Whispers filled council halls. If they could do this to the invaders, what could they do to us? They are only one planet, yet they fight like an empire. Perhaps Earth is not a backwater after all. Back on Keros, the civilians gathered in the central square. Children held scraps of human food and water packs, gifts from soldiers. Old men wept openly, repeating the same words. Earth came. Earth came. For them, the meaning was simple. They were no longer alone. General Rin sent a message to Admiral Hayes. On behalf of every survivor, I pledge this. Keros will never forget. Wherever humanity walks, we will walk beside you. You did not just save us. You gave us back our future. Hayes read the message quietly. For the first time in days, a small smile touched his face. Humanity had won a friend, but Hayes knew the truth. The galaxy would not forgive Earth's strength. Already new wars were being planned in hidden rooms. Already other empires were deciding whether to fear Earth or destroy it before it grew stronger. And yet, one thing had changed forever. The galaxy now knew Earth's secret. Humans were not alone anymore. They were not weak anymore. And when they fought for more than power. They fought for the right of all to live free. The people of Keros lit fires across the night, flames rising like stars from the broken city. The humans above watched from their ships, silent and proud, And in that moment, the legend was born. The day Earth answered. The day humanity stood where no one else would. The day the galaxy realized that when all hope dies, humans arrive. Admiral Hayes gave one final order before leaving orbit. Send word back home. Tell Earth this: the galaxy knows us now. And they will never forget. His ship turned, engines glowing bright, leading the Armada back into the sea of stars. Behind them, Kairos stood as proof of their courage. Ahead of them, countless battles waited. But humanity was ready. For the first time, the galaxy was not laughing at Earth. The galaxy was whispering in fear, and in those whispers, a new era began. The era of humanity.